Welcome back, investors, to the Investing with Our YouTube channel for another portfolio update. So this one will be for the second week of April. Unfortunately, I couldn't make a video last week as I was away with the family in the Peak District, which was very enjoyable. But the last time we had a video, we were at 109,923. And the week before, we went up to 115,889. So a really solid gain, almost £6,000. And this week, we end at 122,698, which equates to up 4.5%. So around £5,300 in profit for 2 weeks straight of gains, which is not something that the portfolio has seen for a long time. And one of the major reasons was that there was seemingly a breakthrough in the ceasefire in the Middle East. But now, especially as I'm recording this video, there's been a delegation that went to Pakistan, I believe, to try to negotiate, but apparently that did not lead to terms being agreed. Now, obviously, there's a lot of conflicting news coming out of the region, but one thing that you can look at, and probably the most important thing, is the price of crude oil. Now, as you can see, this was for the last week. During the middle of last week, it dropped from just over 115 to ending at 95. Now, these markets, the crude oil market is closed during the weekend, so we will see how it opens on Sunday night, and I believe it's going to go up, which means there's going to be a bit more red within the market. Now, I'm finally able to buy again, so I have added some cash to the ISA, which reopened on the 6th of April. So I've had £1,500. Now, if the markets open red, then I will be in the position to buy again. Now, I will be, as I usually do when I do make buys, updating my Substack with what I buy and what amounts. So if you want to follow that as I do it, then please follow my Substack, which can be found here. And if the VIX is high enough, then I will look to deploy some money next week. But if not, then I will be looking at those VIX allocation levels to dictate my entry and additional buys. So as you can imagine, with a week where we're up 4.5%, there's going to be a lot of green. In fact, almost all positions green except for Centrica, Costco, Microsoft, and Tesla. But there's been some fantastic weeks with, for example, Broadcom up over 18%, Amazon up over 13%, ASMR up over 12.5%. You've got KLA up almost 15%, Micron up over 14.5%. Also, Oscar, look, I didn't notice this as well, up over 21%, as there were some favorable movements in CARE Acts within the US. So a strong week for the portfolio overall, and there were some dividends as well, which came in, which was Broadcom for £9.28. Broadcom, a solid performer, and also paying a nice dividend. And the biggest dividend payer within the portfolio overall, Imperial Brands, which paid me £102, which I haven't yet invested, waiting for the right entry points before I do. But this is nice to see. And Nvidia paying an absolute pittance, but it is what it is. We take it. And the total dividends for the portfolio so far is £7,861, which is really nice to see. So if we look at the overall position, so looking a lot more healthier, Google still remains my biggest position. Let's have a look. We're at $317. It was up almost 7.5% last week. £8,700 in profit, which is really good. And then you got Meta, which announced a new AI that they've been developing and building. They hired a lot of big talent for a lot of money from different AI companies or AI ventures. And they announced this release last week. So let's see how that fares. The market reacted well to it. We're up just under 3% up from being down. And if you look at the last week, we were up 9.74%, which is pretty solid on the back of that news. Imperial Brands up 71%. Carnival had a good week last week with potential for ceasefire, but I think that's going to drop next week as well, which might mean that I might add a bit to this. We shall see. But 6.43%, which was a good week. Robinhood had a flat week last week. At one point, it was up to just under $78 a share. Remains quite a large position of mine. Currently down almost 40% on it though. But it will recover and we just have to wait it out. Nvidia, next up, just under a 6.5k position. We're up 68% on that. Visa, down slightly on that, but the net profit on this company and MasterCard as well are just huge. So these are things that we just have to wait and they will recover as well. Broadcom up 88%. Then you got Microsoft, which is the one that's being pummeled a little bit right now. For me, this is a buy. I think I will be buying some, if not next week, then at some point I will be adding to this position. Then you got Tesla, where we're up just over 55% on this holding. Amazon, which actually had a really good week, up 13.6%, reaching just under $240 a share. Not the largest position of mine, but we're up just under 25% overall. Then you've got Oscar Health, as mentioned earlier, having some good news on the policy front in the US, up just over 21% for the week. And we're not down that much on that overall. United Health, similar position. Didn't have as big a week as Oscar, but still up just under 10% on that position. Then you have Centrica, which had a bit of a down week last week. One of the few that were red, but we're up quite a strong, solid amount, just under 90% on that one. IREN, up 13.3% last week. Really, really strong week for that company, and we're slowly recovering on that one. Then you had Grab, which was up just under 2%. Some good news on the analyst rating front. A lot of Wall Street analysts are upgrading this stock, so this is another one where you just wait. Micron had a really good week, just under 15%. Memory still remains solidly in demand, and this is a new position, but we're at break even right now. Costco up just under 23%, and now these are some of the smaller positions I have. BM&R, the biggest loser within the portfolio, but this will recover again, I believe. Then you've got Apple up 30%. Apple actually doing quite well amongst the Mag 7, and I hold just over 10 shares. It's not a really big position of mine, as I sold quite a bit as it wasn't performing so well, but it's released a new cheaper iPhone. Demand for it is pretty high, so this one's been doing well recently. Then you've got KLA, which went past the 100% mark, so one of the best performers within my portfolio. Unfortunately, a small position, as I have other bigger semiconductor positions in Nvidia and Broadcom, so I couldn't put too much of my eggs in one basket. But this is one that's done really, really well, up almost 15% for the last week, so really, really strong performer. I have just under one share. Maybe I might just top it up to one share just to make it a round number. And then you have ASML, which on a similar trajectory, up 12.5%. So yeah, had a really good week last week. So that's it. That's the overall summary, up to 122,698. If you look at the max chart, it's starting to recover from this all-time high of about 140k. Again, just have to wait it out. I think there's going to be some red next week as the negotiations for peace didn't go so well, which is sad to hear, but what can we do? It is what it is. So thank you very much for joining me on this video, and I'll see you on the next one.